What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Nathaniel Gaming, and today we're going to just be reviewing the April balance changes for Undercards of 2026. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, I'm gonna go over the balance changes first, and then I'm gonna talk about the new card that was added. So, first we have Magic Crystal cost going from 8 to 7. What's interesting is that Magic Crystal is pretty bad in Spell Chain, but now it can be a little bit better. But also, most importantly, it's now a totem card. I don't think that really matters a lot because totem cards aren't going to be running lots of spells. They're mostly going to be running, your uh, just 7 health and 7 cost cards. Um, the only real spells that I can think of are like Melt. Um, yeah, Magic Crystal will probably just be a totem pull. And then, random spells that you get off your other 7 drop cards will maybe influence the Crystal Downpour. But I don't see Magic Crystal really getting into play very often. They are gonna have to definitely buff they're gonna have to buff the Crystal Downpour somehow or make it cheaper because there is no way that you're spending 7 gold to do 4 damage that you can't really control, and uh and then you add Crystal Downpour, which by the way is really really situational. It Crystal Downpour itself is very situational. You need to have like an empty hand, and you need to have targets to use it on, or you need to be winning, and you have the face damage. You don't really want to be spending 4 to do 4. Punishment exists, and the only reason to use those gemstones for other than that is like gemstone decks, but they've been kind of nerfed with Bag of Goodies and Tall Miner both getting gutted. All right. Moving along, we have Flower Jar attack from 2 to 3. This will just make Flower Jar, more dangerous, and they will have to go commit more of their resources into dealing with it instead of just letting it live. Because back then, you could just leave a Flower Jar be, and there's really no consequences for that. So, but now, Flower Jar might actually be a little bit dangerous, just a little bit. That they actually have to deal with it. But I think the same problems for Flower Jar are still like there. You're spending so much. You're spending so many resources to put something on the field that may get face damage, but also can get silenced by Memorial Statue and Scarf Mouse and whatnot. You can lose all of the gold that you poured into it. It's not a really good investment. I really think that Flower Jar needs to it needs to either get a cost decrease, maybe if it was like a 1 cost 2 1 or something, so that you're not losing so much value by it getting removed or silenced. And also you're basically paying 6 for something that is a 3/2 essentially. They could still just let it be. A 3/2 is not that dangerous. Plants is kind of dead as well right now, so I don't see Flower Jar doing anything. All right, next is Cogwheel. So it got buffed, dropped down from a 2 cost 2 3 to a 1 cost 1 3, and I think this is really good. Cogwheel is sort of this it's sort of this card that cycles through your entire deck, and it being cheaper now makes it a lot easier to do so. And we cannot forget the fact that Moz Cage, the newly buffed Moz Cage, will benefit greatly from this new buff. So that is good. What else? I don't really see Cogwheel in very many decks. I only see it really in Turbo, but Turbo is not really a tribe. Turbo as a tribe is kind of dead. So yeah. So hopefully we can get some oh, that was a really bad play. Anyway, we can see some cogwheel action in either like Talfus or something as the 1 drop, but just running cheap little 1 drops is not really ideal in most decks unless it's something like Spider. Oh my god. Okay. Unless it's something like Spider, in which it actually does something when you play it, and I'm kind of dead here. Next is White Clo no, Green Fire. So Green Fire is now boosted to do 2 damage, so now it is actually um could potentially be better than Vulcan, but Vulcan still has its uses. So yeah, Green Fire is actually really interesting. It hurts your guys more. Like, the old situation was you play Green Fire on like say Mad Dragon or Recep 1 and then but now it hurts them a little bit more. It seems like it's better, but not for Obama purposes. It's better for just being an aggro card or being an aggro card. So that's pretty nice. It's actually a really good recruitment drop now. Okay, White Cloak. So White Cloak got 2 buffs. One of them is a actually no, just 1 buff. So yeah, White Cloak it now only requires oh wait, I think it always required 7. Well, whatever. Whatever the case, it requires 7 tokens to use, and then also the ice crystal is now down from uh from a 4 drop to a 4 cost to 2 cost. So basically, ice crystal white cloak you can throw down on turn 10 because the white cloak costs 8 and the ice crystal costs 2. Um, this is a pretty good buff just because reinforcement gifts kind of died. So now that some sort of some sort of compensation for gifts dying is here, um, it can be pretty nice. I don't see myself running it in very many decks, but I'm sure there is a place for it because control is kind of dead, right? Like we got the bookshelf nerfs, we got the reinforcement nerf, we got the generous gifts nerf. So I really only see White Cloak and Talfus, which is fine. All right, next is Yarn Ball. So Yarn Ball, I actually really wanted buff for a while, but it I guess never got around to buffing until now. So now Yarn Ball shuffles 2 cards into your deck and draws you 3. So it's a not only a refresh, it's a positive. You get positive card gain out of it. Um, so this is pretty nice, but it is a little bit of bench power creep. We don't talk about bench, right? But like bench is a 5 cost 5/5 that just draws a card. Yarn Ball is basically a 4 cost 4/5. It draws a card, but it also refreshes your deck. So now it's just officially just like a better bench, which is kind of sad. But I only really see this in again turbo, but you can use this in gimmick, I guess. Uh, there's not a lot of usage for this, but I'm sure someone will figure out a good use for Yarn Ball. Okay, now this one's actually also cool. Axis down from an 8 drop. So Axis used to be an 8 cost, but now it's a 7 cost and it has 7 HP instead of 8. So now Axis is a totem card, which is very interesting. So now Totem has this sort of not burst, but like board clear type card that is really good for staying alive. Totem really needs to stay alive because it's super, super slow in the beginning, and then it starts to ramp up once get your carvings down and all that other stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see uh what Axis can do, and also Axis outside of Totem. 7 drops are pretty good for Talfis and are really scarce, especially if they're board clear like Axis. There's also the Axis Green Fire combo now, which is pretty nice. All right, now Moz Cage. So this is one of the really big changes, Moz Cage. So Moz Cage now doesn't require 10 generated 1 drops. It now is 5 non-generated 1 drops. So now you're going to be running a bunch of cheap stuff, in your deck instead of summoning it from, say, Lauren and uh, Captain Rules. So you don't get to like cheese it anymore. So you actually do have to main deck these things. Um, that's pretty nice. But that sounds like a nerf. But so why is it changed? Well, the Moz wheel and the Moz wheel has changed basically. So let's talk about the cage first. So running a bunch of cheap one drops in your deck is not really the best. I mean, maybe three spiders is good, but just running like we're gonna say quote unquote garbage, like Moz holes and like other things that you're not necessarily gonna be, developing a lot of tempo, but just like being there to charge up a Moz cage. Uh, is not going to win a game on its own. So Moz Cage is not the type of card where like you slot it um and then you expect to win by just speed running to it, which is pretty nice because that would suck. But no, Moz Cage is kind of a card where like you uh you work towards it, but it doesn't win the game. It kind of just it stalls you for more time. I mean, some people can argue that it will win the game. When we talk about Moz Wheel costs 4 and it has loop 1, so you get 2 of them per Moz cage, and it summons 3 Moz with haste, and it gives them 1/1 for each card you spent. Gold on last turn, with a maximum of 3/3. So most likely, when you are playing this, you're gonna want that 3/3 buff, and yeah, most likely you're gonna want that 3/3 buff, or you're gonna have the 3/3 buff. So you have a 4/4, and you have 3/4/5s with haste that drop cursors on death. Yep, and I got cooked. Anyway, so um, yeah, that's about it for Moss Cage. I think it's not a win con. It's definitely some support. We just gotta find out the right thing to support it with. Right now I'm using it with Ultima Thrash because Ultima Thrash just needs to stall for a couple of turns and then it can, pop off. So I'm hoping to stall for a couple of turns with Moz Cage and then get the Ultima Thrash down. I'm sure people will find out other ways of using this, however. All right, next. Crazy Bun. Okay, so Crazy Bun was probably one of the worst cards in the game for a really long time, and now it's finally not. I think it's actually a really good card. So it's a 2 cost 2/2 that deals 1 damage to everything. Now, or not everything, all other monsters. Now, we were really missing some sort of like 1 damage burst to kill everything for a while. Like the closest thing we got was like Royal Luke's or Great Door with the petrified monster, or like Mad Dummy, which are like extremely expensive. But now we have Crazy Bun, which is a 2 drop. So this is really interesting, and it will it definitely has a niche. It definitely has a niche for itself. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so I the main thing I see it in is of course Obama. But there's definitely other things that it can be used for, such as faster decks. He can proc some what's it called? He can proc sorry, I'm forgetting the name. Oh, Pile of Dust with a Whims a lot, or a Hanging Spider, or all that stuff. So I see him in aggro. I see him in just as control, just as a 2 drop, maybe in a Talfist deck where you really need to deal with those little 1 drops and you don't want to, or not 1 drops, or like 1 HP things, and you don't want to run like Dancer Metaton or whatever. So I definitely see Crazy Bun in other like very many like diverse types of decks, which is cool. Next is Temmie Egg. So Temmie Egg now costs 1, and it has 1 attack, and it's now a Temmie. So what do I think about this? I think it definitely has potential to be really good. because now you can just run it in Cybirdly without needing it to be without needing to actually play the Temi. Now it counts as a Tem, so it's in Trides. It's a one drop, so you can run it in Moz Cage. It's very, very versatile now. You know, it being a zero cost was, you know, toxic for like Pixel, Susie, and Susie, but both of those have actually been nerfed, and Zoo has been nerfed as a whole, so it's now out of those and now into some of the Tribe decks, which is really fun. All right, next is Tall Miner. So Tall Miner is a little bit weird. Same with Bag of Goodies. Bag of Goodies is also really weird, but I'll just read it and uh, tell you about it. So Tall Miner is now a 3/5, a 4 cost 3/5, and shock. Add a crystal shard to your hand and lose the shock, and give it -1 cost for each gemstone you cast this turn. So I think they're trying to turn gemstones into sort of this like spell chain type deck. Like I definitely want to try out like gemstone mines at some point, but like tall miner basically just gives you like a free crystal shard if you cast like a bunch of gemstones last turn. So now that bag of goodies has been nerfed, what are your gemstones? Well, your gemstones are going to be like pickaxe. Oh, bag of goodies also gives you a gemstone with shock, so that's nice. Perhaps Angie, but I actually don't think a lot of Angie. Um, but yeah. So I definitely expect to see Tall Miner and Bag of Goodies in some sort of mind stacker. Now let's actually talk about Bag of Goodies. So Bag of Goodies is super interesting because it looks at 3 spells costing 2 plus G, so it looks at like a bunch of different spells. And 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 what does it do? It gives it gives the spell -1 cost for each gemstone you cast this turn. So it Tall Miner and Bag of Goodies seem like cards that you would play like after you cast a bunch of gemstones. Um, you know, which take as how good that would be. I don't expect people to be casting a lot of gemstones on one turn, which is like really what you know you want to be doing when running these cards. Um, but we'll see. I'll definitely be making gemstone bag of goodie like mine deck, maybe even cage jester because bag of goodies is now basically a bone box, an extra bone box. Okay, next Chaos Blaster, just a simple nerf, turning it from a 6/6 to a 6/5. Chaos Blaster was kind of toxic, just because the Lost Soul is now really dangerous. Um, but it's been toned down a little bit. I don't expect to see Chaos Blaster a lot because Chaos Blaster's like signature was that its stats was the big like selling point for it, and now that its stats have been changed or nerfed to make way for the Lost Soul to actually be useful, I don't think Chaos Blaster is actually gonna see a lot of play now. Oh, Rockman. So this one's actually really interesting. So Rockman lost his dodge, and he's now a 4 cost 2/6. I actually think this is really dangerous. A 4 cost 2/6 that can summon things. I find it to be very dangerous. Um, I'll try to make some sort of justice deck with this at some point because this sounds really scary. Like seriously. Alrighty. Uh, let's take a look at okay. Elder Puzzler. So yeah, Elder Puzzler was kind of annoying before. It did 5 damage. It like killed a 5 or a 4 or a 6 drop like instantly, and then left a 6/8 on the field. So yeah, that was not fun. But now we have Elder Puzzler nerfed so that he only deals 4 damage. I still think this is really good. I mean, like 4 cost 4/4s or 3 cost 4/4s are like all over the place, and you're still dropping this massive stat stick, and it can still be cloned. 4 damage is a lot of damage. It's basically a scissor dancer, like for free. So Yeah, I think that Elder Puzzler is not going anywhere. He's extremely oppressive. Wow, he actually got a Gaster Blaster. That's crazy. Um, yeah, I still think he'll be really oppressive. It's just whether or not you want to use him in your deck or not. He'll be niche. Alrighty. Control Wire. Okay, so Control Wire now gives exact copies. That's really good. Like, that's very, very good. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway. Yep. So Control Wire is now really, really good in like stall. Like really, really good in stall. Because you can, catch your opponent's like stuff that's been heavily buffed. You can catch your opponent's like I don't know, the DT extractor that they traffic lighted, Star Walker birded. Like it's a really good disruption now. You can catch their Cybirdlies that are really small, and maybe your Cybirdly yourself. You know, Control Wire is really really fun to use. I expect to be main decking it a lot when I test out some DT decks. Okay, now is punishment. Punishment always does 4 damage. To be honest, I never really noticed because I would all if I was ever running punishment or got punishment, I would be make sure to spend something on the past turn. Um, but yeah, punishment seems like a main deck, an actual main deck now instead of something you generate. Frogget Trio. So now the Frogget costs 0. Um, I don't really know how to feel about this one. On one hand, yeah, it's great that the Frogget costs 0, but the Frogget costing 1 actually, triggered a bunch of different things, like Sandstorm, like Hourglass. So I don't really know if this is really a buff. I mean, of course it is a buff, but it removed a lot of niches that I found it useful in. Spending 1G for like just spending 1G is really useful. I don't really know if there's anything else they could have done with it because, no real way to buff it other than like this. But, it is what it is. So Oasis is changed now, so it costs 5. It adds 3 change of winds to your hand, and it erases all of them to heal 4 to you. So you don't have to spend you don't have to spend 7 anymore to trigger this. Oh no, 6 anymore to trigger the Oasis, and basically it's just 6 or 5 cost, draw 3 cards with -1 cost, which I think is really good. Personally, I think that's really nice. I will expect to see Oasis in some sort of Talfis, like just as draw, or in any patient's deck as some sort of draw. If you need draw, just run it. It seems really easy to use now, not as like, oh, play Oasis and Hourglass together. Ooh, Aftermath. So enchant 2 random occupied enemy slots with Scattering Dust, and this thing summons a lot of Pile of Dust. It summons like 4. So each of the enchanted tiles summons a pile of dust after an enemy dies on those tiles, and it does this twice. So not only does this like unconvince the enemy to like not place stuff down on those tiles, but it also like spawns so many piles of dust. It summons 4 for a 3 cost card. It summons 4 piles of dust essentially. So, yeah, I expect this to be really nice, and I actually look forward to running some sort of like PV stall or PV like control or something like that. Just some long-term deck with like just all of these piles of dust just like on their field, or these enchanted slots that yeah. Oh wait, after a monster dies on this slot during the enemy turn, summon a pile of dust and lose a counter. Oh, okay, yeah. So I thought this would be an aggro, but no, this is not aggro. This is like control because it summons a pile of dust, so you can't, play any more monsters on that tile. But that's actually kind of interesting. Okay, I'll definitely be looking into this. This seems really good, as it kind of like locks their board. All right. Anyway, I'll figure that out. All right, and now the last card is Fire E. Now, Fire E can go one of two ways. Number one, it can completely kill you because the ally board slot you enchanted with Incinerator, you can't get rid of it because there's not a lot of enchanting cards in this game. And I'm sure later on there's going to be other cards that like enchant your ally board slots with good stuff. But currently there are no ally monsters that enchant your board with good stuff. So this Incinerator, which will burn allies and literally just burn allies, will literally not go away. I thought it puts an Incinerator on the enemy tile. I was wrong. It puts it on your tile. So basically, you just dump all your stuff into a incinerator, and it just disappears, and you waste all your gold. So yeah, Fire E is really bad. The only way I see Fire E is there's this one like, okay, I don't know if I can find it, but there's this one deck where like you spawn 3 caddies, and then you throw like a bunch of cup tins into an incinerator. Yeah, that's not a good deck, so I wouldn't try it. So yeah, that doesn't work. Anyway, so that's all the balance changes. So what I think I'm gonna do this season, I'm definitely gonna be testing out the new spell chain with Tall Miner and Bag of Goodies. I'll definitely be testing out Access and Moz Cage. Those seem like good now general cards actually. I actually expect to run Moz Cage in a lot of like general usages, especially in Patience, when I can control like when I draw the Moz Cage and whatnot. I really want to try Rockman out. He seems really fun. And I also want to try Aftermath out, which I'm going to do right now. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next month. Goodbye.